everyone, if I can have your attention, we're going to go ahead and get the program started this morning. Thank you everyone for coming out to the City Sustainability Initiative this morning. I'd like to point out first of all that this event lunch is sponsored by Stone Peak Ceramics. We have Candace Sharp in the building. And Candace will be speaking for about 5 minutes after the presentation is over. So thank you so much, Candace. Before I begin, we have a couple upcoming events. July 31st in Chattanooga, we're going to have energy modeling and commissioning in green spaces. August 16th, again here at Foundry in Knoxville, we're going to have energy modeling and commissioning. Coming up, we just announced Weatherization Day, which is going to be on October the 26th, which is Saturday. So go ahead and put that on the radar. It's going to be a really great community event this year. We're going to try to weatherize 2 homes. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure to announce our speakers for today. We have Susanna Sutherland from the City of Knoxville. She's the director of Knoxville's Office of Sustainability, which incorporates sustainable best practices into municipal operations and promotes environmental and social responsibility in the Knoxville community as an economic driver. She has worked with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, the Tennessee State Park System, as well as with environmental policy and planning and river operations at TDA. In 2007, Susanna came to the City of Knoxville as the South Waterfront Development's project manager, and in 2009, she became the city's program manager of sustainability. Susanna holds a master's degree in biosystems engineering technology with an emphasis on water quality and a bachelor's in environmental studies forestry minor from the University of Tennessee. I just want to point out that that was also my program at sustainability. So that's great. Athanasia Senecal Lewis works for the City of Footbridge in the Community Development Department, where she coordinates sustainability initiatives and community events. She serves as a staff representative to the Environmental Quality Advisory Board and to local governments for sustainability. Athanasia is passionate about sustainability and related issues and their correlation to the global socio-economic environment. Prior to her position in community development, she interned with the city to assist the Environmental Quality Advisory Board with developing the city's first climate action plan. Athanasia holds a master's degree in public administration with a focus in environmental policy and a bachelor's degree in history from the University of Tennessee. Thank you, Athanasia.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. I'm going to talk to you today about some of the things that we're doing in Oak Ridge as far as our sustainability initiatives. Here's our agenda for today. So we're going to discuss policies and programs. We have to discuss innovation, of course, in Oak Ridge, some redevelopment opportunities, and then some awards that the city has recently received. So the first policy we're going to talk about is the city's climate action plan, which was adopted in 2010. The climate action plan is simply a mitigation plan to help you lay out strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's a 3-part plan. The first thing that we're looking at on the slide is the pie charts. That shows you an emissions inventory of both the government emissions sector and the community sector. And you could, if you'll look at the pie charts, you'll see that in the government emissions sector, water and sewer comprised about 55% of the city's emissions. That includes conveyance of water in addition to with the facility and any pumps and infrastructure. Below that, we have some municipal reductions and community reductions, and City Council agreed. They signed a resolution saying that they would commit to these emissions reduction. The third component of the climate action plan is some mitigation strategies, some things that we can do to achieve those reductions that we showed you on the previous slide. So these are all items that are in the plan and items that we have currently implemented or are in the process of implementing. So the city has 10 EV charging stations that are available to the public for free. And then we have lots of water sewer infrastructure upgrades. We have a tree inventory that is in its 3rd phase. So we partnered with UT students in the forestry department, and they are inventorying trees along the rights-of-ways, in city parks, and in our open spaces. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, but this is just an example of items that are in our climate action plan. The next policy that we're going to talk about is the Not in Our City campaign. This campaign is comprised of 8 separate initiatives, some of which include parking ordinances. The purpose of this initiative is to clean up the city. We have problems with street parking, kind of clutter in people's yards and that sort of thing. So this initiative was really focused on cleaning up neighborhoods and just making quality of life better for residents. The 2 that relate to sustainability are the 2 initiatives that are on this slide. So on the left, we've got the Cleanup Container Program. This program allows residents in a neighborhood, in a group or an organization, to coordinate. You get a 30 cubic yard recycled container free of charge to you. You just call the city and make a reservation. We bring it out to the resident, and then you and your neighbors and people around the block can bring anything that will fit in the container. You have it for the weekend, and then we take it away for you. We've also worked with some of the metal recyclers and gotten information so they can remove junk vehicles and that sort of thing, again, being consistent with cleaning up the neighborhoods. We also have a land bank that we are starting. And let me just back up and say that the Not in Our City campaign, the 8 programs, they were approved conceptually by council, and then as each program is developed, we have to go back to council and ask for approval on each program. And the land bank has also been approved. Both of these have been approved. But the Land Bank Corporation, in order to have a land bank in Tennessee, you have to have state legislation saying that you can have a land bank. So the City of Oak Ridge is the first test pilot in the state of Tennessee to have it. It's actually just been established, the Oak Ridge Land Bank Corporation, and the purpose of this is to have, to collect unused lands, vacant properties. You can see this is exactly the type of structure that we're trying to clean up and get rid of in Oak Ridge. We have a lot of our federal funds and other funding sources that we're just demolishing these, the structures that are beyond repair, and then they are going into the Land Bank Corporation, which we're in the process of establishing a board of directors, and then they'll determine how the lands are used. Maybe for some, maybe for community gardens, others maybe, for repurposing lands to put a new house on it. It's really up to them once the board of directors is established. We have a bicycle and pedestrian plan also, and the purpose of that policy was to connect greenways and corridors throughout the city and have shared use multimodal transportation opportunities. That's mainly the point. What we did is we looked at all the major areas and where we could connect spot locations and gaps in corridors where the network could actually be connected, and then we have all of those identified in a plan. And then the Rails to Trail study that you just saw on that previous slide, I'm going to talk about here in just a second, but before I do, the Transportation Planning Organization, that organization we have actually become a part of after the 2010 census, that's a big deal for Oak Ridge, because before we were a part of the Transportation Planning Organization, then we didn't have as much opportunity for urban transportation dollars. And now that we're part of this organization, we do. So in addition to us, Oak Ridge being included in the urbanized area, places like Oliver Springs were too. So other places were also included. The Rails to Trail study and the Signalized Progression study, those are 2 programs that are actually they're being considered for funding by the Transportation Planning Organization, and we're hoping that we'll get that. One of the Signalized Progression study has actually been funded just for the study, and what that will do is that will look at the 24 intersections and evaluate what our needs are as far as signalizing and getting traffic through more quickly and efficiently so that we can reduce air quality and reduce air emissions and improve air quality. The Rails to Trails program, I don't have a pointer here, but at the very top of the slide, that red line at the top is Melton Lake. It's actually Elza Gate, and then Melton Lake is a little bit further down, but that line all the way down, it goes to Y12 Federal Complex, and that would be, CSX has actually abandoned that rail line, and we're hoping to go ahead and develop a shared use multimodal path along that corridor, which would be a really significant thing for us to have for a lot of our people traveling to work. All those little blue words on there, and you can't really see it very well from here. Those are major schools, work centers, and so the point is that the trail goes through all those areas, and it would be a great benefit for a lot of people. We also have the Plan East Tennessee initiative that the City of Oak Ridge is part of. The Oak Ridge mayor serves on the leadership team for this regional planning initiative. The planning initiative is really an initiative that allows the leaders and members of the community to share a shared future, direction for the future, and then the focus is on jobs, housing, transportation, environment, and healthy communities. The map here just shows you the 5 counties that make up that the area. So you got Anderson, Knoxville, Loudoun, and Union. Those are the 5 counties. We also have some innovative initiatives in Oak Ridge. We have the small modular reactor that will be at the Clinch River site. This is a really good thing because we already have a skilled workforce in place in Oak Ridge, and it will bring a lot more jobs to the area. And there's a lot of support from the government and from businesses alike. So this is a good partnership opportunity for the city and, of course, B&W and TDA. This picture, we have some buildings that are highlighting some green initiatives as far as LEED certifications. The Grove Park Commons building on the left, in the top picture over here, that is actually the first Tennessee certified commercial green neighborhood development, and there's only 7 others in the U.S. It's when they certify green neighborhoods, commercial neighborhoods, they're just looking at the impact on the environment, the energy efficiency of it, as well as any kind of stormwater management practices. The building on the right, the Zebra Alliance buildings, there were 4 of those buildings. That was actually something that the Oak Ridge National Lab, together with SHOD, and a couple other people, I can't remember who else, but they were testing different green technologies in these buildings to see how energy efficient they were. And they have a HERS rating of about 40 to 45, which the lower the number, the better it is. All 4 of the houses are for sale. They range between $450,000 and $600,000 in case anybody's interested. But they certainly fit in nice with the neighborhood. And when you drive in the area, you kind of can't tell that these houses are really any different than any of the other houses in the neighborhood, which I think is really interesting. On the bottom, we have slides of the Oak Ridge High School, which is LEED Silver. The picture on the left is of the outside. When they were looking at the design, what they were trying to do is stack the educational areas so that they could take up a smaller building footprint. And then the picture on the right shows the inside, and they tried to do things with their lighting. They have like 3 different levels of lighting so that depending on your activity in the classroom, you can adjust your lighting based on what you're doing. And then they also have motion sensors and things like that. So they really planned it carefully when they did design the high school. And this is like the crown jewel of a facility in Oak Ridge. We have some redevelopment opportunities. So the first one I want to talk about is the Jackson Square Revitalization project that we have. This is a conceptual design of the Jackson Square parking lot at the main shopping center there. And some of the things that I want to point out is that in the middle of the square, then there's going to be an added green space. The parking spaces are actually, they are angled now, but they'd be straightened out so that you'd actually be able to accommodate more traffic. I mean, more parking spaces, not very many more, but still a few more. And we're going to put some trees, more landscaping in there, and there will be some kind of structure like a water fountain or something like that, as well as a tent of some kind in order to have community events. This was the original concept in the grant that we submitted, and it was supposed to be phase 1. Since we've submitted this and started working on it, there's been 3 proposed alternate scenarios to this project, and we're actually having a public meeting on August 7th at the Chamber of Commerce, and it's going to be an open house, and people can come out and look at the design and say what they want, and what they like better and what they don't like about the new designs. But the concepts are pretty much the same. It's just that the specifics look a little bit different. The Oak Ridge City Center, better known as the Oak Ridge Vacant Mall, that has actually been sold, thank God. So we have somebody coming in. The company that has purchased it, they've done a lot of mixed-use development. It's a company out of North Carolina, and the mall, it's a 60-acre site, and it will be mixed-use development right now and for the past many years. There's only been a couple, 2-3 stores left in the mall, and it will be mixed use, so we're really excited about that. And it's right across from City Hall, and so it'll build up, a lot to the area of the city. We have the Alexander Inn Guest House. The picture on the left in black and white, that's what it originally looked like, and it was the city's first hotel. The famous scientists stayed there, like Enrico Fermi, and everybody kind of signed in under different names for security reasons, but it looked really sharp. The picture on the right, on the top, that's kind of what it looks like now. So there's a big difference. You can see that they've started tearing it down. That has also been purchased and is in the process of being turned into an assisted living facility, which is a nice example of adaptive reuse. And they're going to be putting solar panels, and they didn't want to be mandated to be LEED certified, but they are trying and striving toward LEED certification. So that's pretty interesting for an assisted living facility, I thought. And we have some awards and announcements. We just received a $200,000 energy grant from TDAC. So back to our climate action plan, where we're doing HVAC upgrades, lighting, changing out lights, and doing those kinds of things for energy efficiency. We're able to do more of those kinds of things now at the library, at the town hall, city hall, because of this energy grant. And then the TDOT enhancement grant, that conceptual design I showed you of Jackson Square, that's how it's being funded, is from this TDOT enhancement grant. We also received the Valley Sustainable Communities program. We're a recipient of that program, and that is actually a brand new program for TVA in their economic development office. And it allows you to become a designated certified city, either silver, gold, or platinum, based on the things that you're doing. They don't really measure you against other cities. They measure you based on what you're doing in your town, and of course, demographic features like your population come into, those are definite factors come into play there. And so we should find out in, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks what level of certification we are. But the interesting thing about this is that it's going to help us be able to market Oak Ridge a little bit better, and TVA they'll give us marketing materials and TVA will have a little seal. It'll be on their website. Anybody in Oak Ridge that are our partners, they'll be able to use it too. So Y12, ORNL, the Chamber of Commerce, the city, we're all going to have like a brand that we can market. So it'll sort of put Oak Ridge on the map a little bit better, I think. So it's a really exciting thing. And then the Virginia Tech ISO 14001 training. That is an opportunity that we received. We'll be starting this in October, and if over about a year, then we're going to learn how to use this environmental management system. And one of the things that we're looking at doing is looking at some of our old housing stock, which we have plenty of, and looking at ways that we can improve them, just like we're doing with our land bank, but we're also trying to look at environmental impacts as well. And the folks at Virginia Tech are going to show us how to manage a program like that. So, and that is what I have. Do we have questions? Yes.
When was your high school redone?
2008. No other questions? Okay.
Do I have to use the microphone? Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to say that when I first started as director of the Office of Sustainability, it wasn't the office and I wasn't director. It was sort of a thing that was happening that I'll go into in just a bit. But I went to Athanasia's city council workshop, I guess it was, on her climate action plan. And I followed in her footsteps in a lot of ways. She handled that so well. So she's been a very cherished peer of mine for a long time. And I'm so happy to see you today. It's been a year. I'm going to go over kind of how our program got started, where we are right now, and where we're headed in the future. And I'd like to know kind of who I'm talking to. So I have a bunch of architects and engineers in the room. Is that primarily? Is there anybody else that's not an architect or an engineer? General contractor? Contractor.
But specific to rainwater.
Okay. I think I've met before. And so basically you guys are all very schooled in the whole building principles, so I'm gonna speak to you on that level, and if you have any questions, please do stop me, raise your hand and ask. I wanted to tell you that I have gone through 3 administrations now, and I started, as he said, on the waterfront, and the economy tanked just as the stimulus was hitting, and so Haslam asked me if I would come and start the Office of Sustainability, although we didn't know what that meant. We just knew that I had an environmental background and had several $1 million we needed to program and spend. And so I'm going to kind of go over, I don't want to dwell too much on the past, I just want to give you guys a background because we have just gone through a second round of comprehensive planning and we have just benchmarked ourselves in our progress. So if I don't give you background, you won't know what that means. Okay, so in 2007, there was a group of business communities that came, businesses in our community that came to our mayor Haslam and asked if we could be a little bit of a greener city because economically it makes a lot of sense, as you guys know, so I don't have to go into explaining why that is. He said, sure, show me what that looks like, and so we had a task force that sprung up with about 14 members of the community that had anything to do with energy, like TVA, KUB, Alcoa, Oak Ridge. It was a whole plethora of stakeholders. That original group commissioned our energy inventory baseline. So where are we spending the most in energy? Where are we putting out the most carbon emissions? That group also, when I came on, commissioned what is essentially our climate action plan, although we didn't call it that at the time. We called it an energy and sustainability work plan. And essentially, in that we took 6 working groups and developed a plan for the next 5 to 10 years. Shockingly enough, almost 33 of the 38 are either completed or close. So we're in the second round of doing the work plan, and I never thought that we could get that much progress that quickly. As you can see over the years of that administration, we did a lot of sort of exploratory work in energy and sustainability issues, mostly focusing on our own facilities and retrofitting. Although we did capture a Tennessee, we were the only one in the Southeast besides Orlando that caught a American Cities grant from the Department of Energy, which we didn't know at the time, but that turned into a really profitable relationship for us with DOE. We also are a Sunshine partner right now, which is the second phase of the Solar America Cities grant, and it's really on permitting for solar, streamlining solar. They basically trying to make it easier for folks like you when it comes to coming to people like me in government. And that grant was incredibly successful. Through that, we learned the power of education. When I inherited it, I thought, you have $300,000 just for education. Are you kidding me? Like, can we build something with this? But what we were building was capacity, and so you saw we went from roughly 30 kilowatts in our area to over a megawatt during the course of the year of the term of that grant. Of course, that was not all the City of Knoxville. That was a lot of promotional, a lot of training. I don't know, some of you may have sat through some of those trainings. We touched over 2,000 people during that grant and just saw solar start to explode, not only in Knoxville, but across the state. 10 and 11 were interesting years because politically we were in transition. Our mayor was running for governor. We had an interim mayor and also a campaign going on for a local mayor, as well as the state campaign for governor. So we got busy minding our own business and staying out of politics. We do that anyway as city staff, but certainly we did go a little bit under the radar at that point just because we had a lot to do, we had a lot on our plate, we had a lot of money to spend, a lot of projects that were already committed to get done. We were also being completely examined as, why is the city investing in energy and sustainability issues? Is this left wing? Is this, you guys are very familiar with political conversations of it. Still, a lot of progress was made, not a lot of talking about it, and we learned over the course of those years the power of demonstration. So if you put up electric vehicle stations like Athanasia was talking about, suddenly you see an increase in electric cars. It really is, a give and take when it comes to things like that. We learned that, we were one of the first municipalities to do a third-party solar lease agreement in the Southeast, and we learned after that the city of Franklin took our model and did it, and then there's been other models popping up around the state. We learned that you could do affordable lead housing, which was something that cities in the Southeast hadn't done. So it was an interesting discovery period. We also learned the power of partners. We can't afford everything all by ourselves, so we leveraged wherever we could. Made a lot of friends. The Climate Action Group actually paid for our recycling study, which became a recycling program. We learned the power of scare tactics. Athanasia referenced the Plan ET initiative, which brought a lot of Tea Partiers out of the woodwork and said we were essentially trying to take their land away from them and give it back to the rabbits and squirrels and make them live high rises. And if you laugh, it sounds funny, but honestly, this is, Athanasia and I were talking before the presentation, this is passing at a state level. Some of you remember the organization ICLEI, which was basically politically blackballed for a while. ICLEI was a foundation for a lot of our cities as to how to get an energy baseline inventory. It gave us a formula to follow, so cities were actually looking at the same types of issues instead of just sort of taking random performance measurements. They are re-emerging with the Star Communities Index, which is essentially when Athanasia was talking about the TDA program that will do a ranking gold, silver, platinum with any valley city. This ICLEI is re-emerging with a community index that cities can benchmark themselves against one another, so it's a consistent measurement across the board. So it's not just something that's Tennessee Valley only, or Nalgene does it, or there's 11 or 12 different indexes across the country. And we learned that, there's not a lot of logic sometimes to the arguments, but they can be very, very powerful tools to stop progress. And logic doesn't often work with that. You probably had some of those same experiences. In 2012, we had our first successes. Our little baby office became a real, actual office. We were not federally funded anymore. We had run out of grant funds. Mayor Broher was just elected, and she decided to keep me and my staff, which is one. Jake Tyson, some of you know him, he's my project manager. An exceptional person and very talented, and has helped with a lot of the accomplishments that you see on this slide. We learned the power of measurement after we became an office. We were given the luxury of not having to just survive, to chase grant funds, to keep going in the city. It was a luxury of saying, okay, we're not going to get rid of you as soon as your grant runs out. And so for the first time, we had time to sit down and go through a comprehensive energy audit. We're talking meter by meter, thousands and thousands of meters on a building by building basis. And this is, I know you're never supposed to put graphs in PowerPoints, but we're tracking green jobs, we're tracking kilowatt hours, water, et cetera, et cetera. I have an approach to sustainability since there's two of us and there's a whole city, and sustainability is equity, environment, and economy, which could be everything if you really think about it. When you take two people and you try to convert a city in the way they operate, in the way that they think, you leverage wherever you can. And so if someone is working on transportation, rock on, I'm not working on that right now. I'm going to work on something that no one's touching, like energy measurement, for example. I mean, we will work on transportation issues as well, but like with the Plan ET, for instance, I put all of my sustainable codes action items to the back burner to see how that Plan ET process could come through and give me some sort of an audit of what I can do. So y'all are doing a lot of work in our community that I lean on, honestly. You may not know it, and I talk about you on national conferences. I talk about how our building community is can at times be the people who make or break our policies. So here we are, 2013. It's been an interesting 4 years. We have had a lot to show for our activities, but the bottom line is we're nowhere near where we should be. Emissions are a huge persistent issue, and we struggle in our area simply because you guys have heard the topography argument, how we're sort of in an inversion, and we're constantly struggling to keep our air quality emissions in control. So I look at our progress with delight and also with sobriety to say, okay, so we've started this, but just because we've had a couple significant wins, it doesn't mean that we're done. It doesn't mean that we can just rest. So these numbers are literally hot off the press this morning. I've had 3 interns working over the last 6 months on gathering our government data because we're at the point now where we need to know, one of our goals was a 12% reduction by 2012. Have we hit that or not? And so what you're seeing here is a comparison between baselines. The light blue is our 2005 energy baseline as well as now. You can see at a glance the areas that we're doing all right in and the areas that need improvement. The government story, it's pretty good. It's not perfect. You can see with our government goal, we're pretty much exceeding it right now. That's primarily because of our $19 million energy service performance contract where we retrofitted all of our buildings. It was a huge win for us on carbon emissions. In the community, not so much. So we've shown about a 3% reduction since the 2005 baseline, which, as you know with data, it's a 2005 baseline that's published in 9, so 12 data for our 13 math. But anyway, you're seeing that we are not showing a lot of improvement rapidly, which means that about every year from now until 2020, we need to do what we've done since 2009 in our community. Which means, to me, the take home for me is that I need to find initiatives that directly impact our community. Like I need to chase funding for residential and commercial building retrofits, for instance. I need to do things that will help. Things that are out of my purview as a government person, I can incentivize at this point, but that's about it. I can't govern, I can't control what goes on in the private sector, and nor do I want to. It's just kind of, That said, if we had done nothing at all, this is again community-wide, to get the 3% reduction, the star is where we're sitting right now. We would be about 30% worse off, so that's the good story. Still a lot of work to be done though, a lot of sobering numbers on this. You can see kind of the sectors that we're doing all right in, our government buildings, our traffic signals. We have a lot of renewable energy, not just for the city. The city owns 150 kilowatts, but there's a lot in our community. And then of course with our recycling program, that has helped, but it's still only available to 20,000 residents. And so we need to get that program available to all residents and also to commercialize it. So there's a lot to be done there. And also we've seen, and this is not a city thing, this is a sort of a federal initiative, the emissions reductions are attributed primarily by our Knox County Health Department to the upgrades in vehicle technologies. So as long as that continues, and I hear the president is saying that there's new emissions reduction targets for vehicle technologies that are due out in 2018, I believe. So they're still doing an aggressive campaign on that, which is good news because it really does impact our local emissions. So our fleet's not doing so hot. We had biofuels at one point, the engines gummed up. We got scared about doing alternative fuels, and so we need to get a little bit more aggressive about that. Obviously, we're going to target what can we do in the community now that our facilities are pretty much functioning decently. And then, of course, the waste. You know, we have improved waste diversion, but waste is such a huge contributor to carbon emissions. I found it interesting in your slides that your water and wastewater was one of your highest. We actually don't include our water and wastewater in our city emissions inventory because they're run by an outside party. And so it's interesting, the reason I'm pointing that out is because you can only get apples to apples so much. So if I don't have control as a municipality over my water, I'm not counting it as part of my carbon footprint, even though realistically it is. So just to show you where some of the data can be a little bit inconsistent sometimes. So where are we headed? What does that tell us? We're essentially going to put out, of course, the new baseline inventory, which you got the sneak preview on the data this morning. We're going to dust the data pretty carefully. Cities are going to third-party verifications of data. It's better than saying, you know, this is our data based on what our interns said. We are not quite there yet with third-party verification, budget-wise, but I fully expect Knoxville to at some point be third-party verified on our data. That's the policy direction we've taken with our buildings. Anytime we retrofit, anytime we build new, it has to be certified, either Energy Star LEED or CRAFT, et cetera. So I think that that's very valuable to have someone else come in and say, this is what you're doing, instead of you telling the public this is what you're doing. The work plan is going to be redone, and I'll show you a little bit about what's going on with that. We're going to focus really hard, of course, on buildings. We are a Better Buildings Challenge partner with the Department of Energy, and so that will be a lot of pounding the pavement in the community, incentivizing, educating, and begging vendors to build new retrofits. Our transit is going to continue to be a focus. We have incorporated, and they're not even on the road yet, but they're, I believe it is a biofuel bus instead of just the standard cabs that they were seeing. And also increased pickups on bus routes because we have a really hard time getting people to ride the transit system at all because it's a long wait. So on key bus routes now it's a 15-minute wait. Don't know if that'll work, but I really do feel like if we can invest a little bit more, and we're subsidizing CAT at like $3 a rider, which is not a great number, but if we put a little bit more into transit to make it attractive, perhaps at some point we can recoup our investment on that. And also, of course, before I move off of transit, you know that transit is in our area very much a sprawl issue. It's so important on the front end, and I know we all can't go back, 50, 80, 100 years and think through the layout of Knoxville, but compact is so nice, isn't it? And then, of course, we're focusing on food, as you guys have noticed through a lot of our grant initiatives. We have a lot of food deserts in Knoxville. We get a lot of red marks from that. So I'm going to run through these slides relatively quickly because I don't want to bore you too much with my future work. But it's essentially targeted items that we have watched on a national level surface as best practice. Knoxville is a tier 2 community, which means that your tier 1s are like your New Yorks, your Chicagos, and they do things like benchmarking buildings and passing codes. We watch them and we take, as soon as they have become best practices, we take the best of what they've done, take their lessons learned, and we survive what they've gone through. It's a little bit like cheating, but in my field, my peers nationally encourage that. We beg, borrow, and steal codes and policies from one another all the time. Energy, of course, is always going to be a big focus of ours because there isn't another entity in the city government that does energy. As I said, if we can pass it off to our transportation authority, to our planning agencies, whatever, we will. But energy is something that no one else is paying attention to right now, so that is going to continue to be a really big focus of my office. Procurement, waste, right-of-way, all of these categories that you're seeing are categories that the original work plan identified, and we're just taking them and refining them and adding to them based on what we've already done and where we're coming from. Same with infrastructure, which is kind of you guys' purview. We did submit a green building code to council. It has not been voted on, but we think it will probably end up being a voluntary program. So if you folks are interested in piloting that, do let me know. Zoning and codes, always room for improvement there. I have been told that we still have telegraphs on the books, if you can believe it. So updates are always necessary there. And then, of course, the transportation, which coming back to environmental, it is one of our largest emissions categories, so we're always going to be focusing on it. And of course, you know how to find us. I know I've run through this quickly. I do a lot of different types of presentations, and I gave you guys the data today to test it out on you, so I'm sorry if I've bored you to death. But we are very thrilled to have a background in the community like you guys, and happy to partner with you whenever it makes sense. So don't hesitate to find me and contact me if you need to. Is there any questions at all? Okay. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. That is the end of the official presentation for today. I'm going to ask Candace if you would like to come up and give us a little introduction to your materials. In the meantime, I'm sorry, as you're talking, Candace, I'm going to pass out the course evaluation for today, as well as the certificates for today. So make sure you give these to us at the front table on your way out, and make sure you have one that's free to you. And if we run out, I can provide you an electronic copy, or if you prefer electronic copy.
Thank you guys for coming. My name is Candace Sharp, and I'm the architectural rep for the local distributor in town that distributes Stonepeak's called Winco. And Stonepeak has put on a luncheon for you today. And the reason that they've done this, I don't know if you guys know, but it's actually manufactured in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you're driving to Nashville, you can actually see it right off the interstate. And they recycle just about everything that is in the tile, whether it's the water, the materials, etc. There's only one thing that they cannot get recycled, and it's this little fine particle that when they come to make the really highly polished materials, they can't find some way to recycle that. Again, it's a porcelain tile, and the reason it's put in Crossville is because it comes, all of the materials are sourced from the 500-mile radius from Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and Western North Carolina. And the neat thing about Stonepeak as well is in their catalog, they actually show by the little footprints how green a particular product really is. So if you're looking for, something you're like, okay, I really want this to be really green. And of course, the more the newer the products are, the more greener they are, just because the technology and stuff has become so much more advanced. And also, the really neat thing about it in their catalog is they show the post and pre-consumer recycled content as well. And they also have a thing online where you can go in and put in and get your lead points, how many points you're going to get for this particular project. display back here, if anybody wants to come by, cards and stuff back here as well. But thank you guys for coming very much, I appreciate it.